Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for September 16th, 2024. Well, my goodness, Friday turned out to be quite a day. I was gone at a funeral, but holy moly, they decided to rush into the market, and we came very, very close to a diamond's new record high on Friday. So, expecting another wild day with an FOMC rate decision coming up this Wednesday. First off, let's take a look at what happened overnight. If we take a look at futures markets last night, we had Asian markets that were mostly higher. Only the Nikkei was down. The Nikkei was down 0.68%. Shanghai was down 0.48%. And we ended up seeing some nice little gains, 0.27% in Australia. Hong Kong was up 0.31%. So a little bit of activity over there. If we take a look at European markets, however, European markets right now are mostly lower, with the DAX down 0.30%. FTSE is down 0.0%. And the CAC is down 0.51%, as they are also waiting for a rate decision, I believe, on Thursday from the ECB. If we take a look at U.S. markets, well, we're mostly higher here this morning, with the Dow futures up 0.1%, S&P futures up 0.01%, and the NASDAQ futures down 0.22%. Taking a look at oil prices here this morning, if we take a look there, let's look at OIH here this morning. We've been trying to catch a little bit of a bottom in here, trying to hold a little bit, but you'll want to notice we've got some fairly substantial resistance levels above now on the oil holders. But right now, oil prices are up just slightly, with oil futures looking up 39 cents at 69.04 a barrel. Brent crude is up 30 cents at 71.91 a barrel. And then we've got natural gas looking just a little bit lower here this morning, down around a penny. So after coming up here and testing this resistance in the chart, and a little bit of rest coming into UNG. Let's take a look at our cryptos here this morning. When we look at BITO, we're a little bit down here after zooming up on Friday. Bitcoin right now is down $1,232 a coin, or 2.06%. Ether's down 74.55 a coin, down 3.15%. And we're pretty much red across the board in those cryptos this morning. When we take a look at precious metals, well, we've got gold looking a little bit lower after making a new record high on Friday. Continuing to zoom and stretch up here, and right now pulling back just a little bit. Believe it or not, with this pullback this morning, we're still above $2,600 an ounce. Amazing run to the upside. Silver, on the other hand, trying to move higher after it's also just zooming move back up here through a downtrend, through a little support in that chart. So keep an eye on silver. Copper is up just ever so slightly. Platinum is down, and palladium continues to zoom to the upside, breaking through significant resistance levels in the chart. Any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there in palladium. So let's take a look at bonds. Our bond yields this morning, we've got the 2-year bond at 3.56%. The 10-year is at 3.65%, and we've got the 30-year 3.97%, and even the 3-month bonds have pulled back significantly to 4.86% with a high anticipation of those rate cuts. There's still quite a battle going on when we take a look at the Fed funds futures rate. There's quite a few still thinking we should get a 50 basis point cut, but the majority is still saying no, we're only going to get a 25 basis cut. So keep an eye on that. There's a lot of emotion building on that heading into Wednesday. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, everyone, we want to look at these charts without a bias. We want to look at them for what they are, not for what we want them to be. Well, taking a look at the diamonds and these three big zooming days to the upside, we are pushing right against this resistance in the chart, and it seems kind of, well, it would be really surprising to me if you ask me, and we got all dressed up and put in this much effort and we don't make a new record high in the diamonds. So if we see those bulls continue to push here this morning, and they're certainly pumping in the pre-market here to get the diamonds up there, we could easily catch that new record high here in the diamonds. And then there's blue sky above at that point. However, if I look at this with a potential bearish eye, even though they're squeezing in the pre-market up here, we are very overextended in the short term on the diamonds, and I would be watching carefully for that potential of a whipsaw today. So if those bears, even after the morning pop, can find inspiration, I'd start looking for some pullback levels in here in the chart, that possibility that we could come on back, maybe start testing some of these levels here as we push on back down, noting that we left a gap behind here on Friday, so watch that carefully. If we start moving ourselves back down through this area, that would not be a major surprise, particularly as we're waiting on the FOMC, a lot of uncertainty. And then of course we have the same situation here where every day now more stocks fall into their blackout period. We're going to lose that momentum of corporate buybacks here in the market. So it's not unusual for a resting consolidating pattern to occur heading into the next round of earnings. So watch carefully for that possibility. Let's take a look at our moving averages here. Certainly very stretched again above our 50-day moving average. We're just in an all or nothing market. So watch that carefully here. If we did pull back, we have no restrictions on that pullback except price action. And then, of course, if we look at our SPY, stretching up here strongly, we are only about 1% away from taking out the all-time high here in the SPY. Now, we struggled with this area before and we're not able to get through. Can we do it? Can we do it ahead of the FOMC? We'll see. If those bulls find that inspiration, then pushing up through here, we'll catch that all-time high. And then, of course, blue sky above. We also want to keep in mind, though, that we are extended in the short term. And if those bears were to find any kind of inspiration here today, then a pullback, maybe to test some support in here. And then we would start maybe progressing back down just a little bit here to find some of these support levels in the chart if the bears have anything to say about it. And they may not, but watch carefully for that. And once again, I just want to remind everyone that it is not out of the question that we have a pretty big whipsaw. If we push up through there, catch that high, we're going to be very extended in the short term. Watch for that potential whipsaw to occur as well. And then if we take a look at our moving average here on the SPY, big stretch through the 50. Now the question is, can we get through that resistance, or will we come back and retest some support levels before we do that? take a look at our Nasdaq. Nasdaq also squeezing to the upside, pushing into this downtrend and resistance area here in the chart. So if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration here, pushing on through that level, I would start looking at some areas right up in here, see if we can break through some of these price action areas in the chart, pushing on through to that next level to the upside. Getting up through here might be will need some work, and certainly some effort, and perhaps a good rate cut or something could get us up there, but watch that carefully. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration in here, then this, you couldn't be surprised that we ran into a little bit of resistance, a little bit of trouble here, and seeing that pullback, we might start coming back into some of these areas in here to test some of those price support levels in the chart. And looking at our moving averages, you can see a pullback to the 50 here. It would not be a major surprise, and I still think it's very possible that we could end up in a choppy consolidation as we wait for the next round of earnings. Let's take a look at our IWM. Our Russell, big zooming move here, leaving big gaps behind. On Friday, left a big gap behind, pushing up here into this next resistance level of the chart. We broke back above that little downtrend in the chart. So if the bulls can continue to push, we need to break through this area of resistance, and then we'll start pushing up. See if we can get through some of these areas of resistance in the chart, back up here to retest these recent highs. So watch that carefully in IWM. If the bears, however, were to find inspiration, well, it wouldn't be all that hard to see that possibility occurring after such a big stretch. Pushing back down into here, we might start checking out some of these support levels in here, and then maybe even working a gap fill in that chart. Our moving averages here, as you can see, we'd zoom straight back up through that 50-day moving average, but we're kind of running into that downtrending resistance area in the chart. So don't rule out, again, that possibility of a whipsaw on this stretch. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX dropped nicely here on Friday, pushing us back down, but not as much as you might have expected with such a big zooming move in the market. So we're trying to show confidence, a lot of confidence on the rate cut, but it might be just a little bit of complacency as well. Coming back down here into this support area of the chart. So watch that carefully. If this were to hold and we were to bounce, that still would constitute as a potential higher low. So watch that carefully. If we can break on down through there, then I would look at this level right down here as the next level to try and catch support in the VIX. So watch that carefully. And then if we take a look at our T2122, our T20s, this is going to be our biggest case right here of a potential whipsaw or reversal back down. Bearish engulf, not bearish engulfing, a hook up here at the top, very extended in the 4-week new high, new low ratio. Now remember, we can stay up here and extended. We can linger up here in anticipation of a rate cut. Might be a reason that we could linger up here and kind of slip into more of a choppy consolidation. But watch that carefully, because if the bears find inspiration, well, we have literally opened up a massive opportunity for a pullback in that chart, and any push up should be potentially limited for that upside move because we're just so overly stretched here at the moment. Let's take a look at our T2108. Now our T2108, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, had a zooming move in there on Friday, pushing back up here 54, almost 55% of the stocks back above their 40-day moving average. But you'll want to note that we're pushing into some price resistance here in the chart. We're pushing up in toward this downtrend as well. So maybe a little bit more stretch to the upside as possible, and they're sure pumping it here in the pre-market today. to get that new record high. But watch that carefully here as we run into some of these resistance levels in the chart. Pullback is certainly possible. If we take a look at T2107, same thing is true here. Big stretch on Friday. 55-56% of the stocks back above their 200-day. We're coming into kind of a congestion zone here in that chart, as you can see across here. And then, of course, we have this downtrend that we'll have to be dealing with as well. So watch that carefully. And remember, if these do pull back, it doesn't mean the world's coming to an end. It might just mean the market needs some rest after zooming to the upside. So watch that carefully here. We've got good support levels in here as well. And then if we take a look at our T2101, this is the area where we're likely going to continue to struggle. One of the things I want to note is on Friday, although we zoomed to the upside, notice that we didn't get much improvement in breadth. As a matter of fact, all we got was a rally back to some price resistance in the chart, still moving in the downtrend. So this is that sign that all of those companies are slipping into their buyback period or buyback blackout. They cannot manipulate the stock here until they get through their earnings report. So that blackout period is something we'll want to be watching. And I suspect we could see breadth continuing to decline. And I would watch for either a little choppiness, choppy consolidation to come into play. Whipsaws are certainly in the mix here from this extended position. So watch that carefully. And then let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. Our economic calendar, well, not a whole lot going on here today. If you take a look, we've got an Empire State Manufacturing number. Now, these numbers have not been good. Consensus is suggesting that they're going to come up to negative 3.9 from a negative 4.7. So that would be an improvement. Let's watch that carefully because these numbers have been pretty ugly. Although we have just largely ignored them here in the United States. Treasury buyback announcement here again, and then we've got a 3 and 6 month bond auction. As you can see, as we move into Tuesday, a bit more activity in here with retail sales numbers, industrial production. We've got business inventories, housing market index. We're going to have Logan speaking, which is odd. That might be in there incorrectly, or likely won't be saying anything about rate cuts because you typically are in the blackout period for Fed speaking, so watch that. It could be some arbitrary thing that she'll be the Logan will be talking about. Now, take a look. We've got a 20-year bond auction in there on Tuesday. Heading into Thursday, housing market starts and permits. Petroleum status. We're going to have the FOMC rate decision on Wednesday with the Fed press conference afterward. Heading into Thursday, our normal jobless claims, Philly Fed manufacturing current accounts, we've got existing home sales and leading indicators, natural gas, and then of course Fed balance sheet at the end of the day with some bond auctions. And then Friday, very light day. Hawker will be speaking, and we're going to probably expect to see a lot of Fed speeches once we get past that FOMC meeting. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar today. And unfortunately, guys, on earnings, there aren't any notables. As a matter of fact, we have some reports that, well, they're very, very small companies. Stocks like VNCE, $1.94. RFIL will be reporting. We've got IPA. The only one of reasonable size, I guess, would be this A lot, and it's really pushing here, or pushed on Friday. to the upside. Keep an eye on that, but there really are no notables for the whole day today. And we're going to really be dropping so many of those, dropping in those numbers as we wait for that next round of earnings to come up. This is normal. It happens every quarter. So, and it's pretty typical. We end up in a real choppy consolidating mode as we wait for that next round of earnings reports. If we, well, I guess that is it. So how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. Thank you for those who share these videos out on your social media feed, and just a big shout out to everyone who continues to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link just below the title of the video. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's take a look at some of these charts setting up, and remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market. Be prepared for some volatility this week, and maybe some price action that could turn into some choppiness as we wait on this rate decision. And then, of course, could be an explosion of activity after that rate decision. We'll see how the market reacts. Let's take a look at a few things in here. First off, let's take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft has had a nice little run to the upside here, breaking above this center area here in the chart, breaking through here. So any rest or pullback now, if it can hold that higher low, would set up that next opportunity for an upside move. I, however, would not rule out a little bit of a consolidating choppiness area setting up in here as we wait for that next group of earnings. Notice it doesn't report until 10:22 next time, but that little resting pattern could set up something. Take a look at Google. Now, although Google has had several days of gaps and runs to the upside as we just surged back up in this market, I would suggest that Google is setting up a potential short. As we look at this downtrend here and look at the price resistance in this chart, I would look for some kind of failure to occur in here, that possibility anyway, and I would be watching for that short position. Even a modest pop through that downtrend can set up that rejection up here in that resistance. Now, if it can pop through and hold, well, then we've got something different. If we were holding a higher low, then I would look for that opportunity to the upside. But I think Google still has more problems ahead of it. And you can see all of our major moving averages moving down. We're underneath our 200. I would watch carefully for that as a potential short to the downside. If we take a look at like AMD, AMD is also another one I have a bit of a concern on. Not so much as Google, but you can see pushing up here in this, making this higher low, but also struggling here with trend and a major resistance area here in that chart and price action. So watch that carefully here for that potential. If the market does show failure, then that possibility we could push this on back down in AMD. Notice that we just crossed back above our 50-day moving average, but we also have what they call the death cross, the 50 crossing down through the 200-day. Pushing up there to that resistance, I would watch for that potential pushback in that chart. Let's move off of this big tech here for a second, and let's go to our financials. If we take a look at XLF, nice little bounce back up here on XLF this last week, holding in there off of that 50-day moving average. But we do want to recognize the fact that we've got this little tiny downtrend in here. We're keying off of some support, which is good and possibly showing a lot of hope, but we need to see these financials break back through there. And I am a little bit concerned that we could see kind of a pullback coming in those. So watch that carefully here if this has to rest or consolidate back to this support area of the chart. What will be key is it holds that support area in the chart in any kind of resting consolidation, allows that 50-day moving average to catch up. If it were to fail back down through there, that might be problematic here for the financials. And if we take a look at our regionals as well, KRE has held on to that 50-day moving average, gapping and zooming here the last couple of sessions. But notice, whoops, that changed the tool on me. Notice that we're running into that downtrend resistance here in the chart. So I would keep an eye on that, despite the fact that we have this upside trend as well. We're wedging. A symmetrical triangle has about a 50% chance breaking through the top side, breaking through the bottom side. So watch that carefully here. If this comes into any kind of softness or weakness, that potential roll back down is something I would be watching for in those charts. Let's take a look at our energy markets. Energy pushing up here off of this low, but my goodness, a lot of weakness here in the energy markets. You can see in here we're trying to grab on to some support right in here and bounce back up, but you'll also want to notice we've got significant resistance here to the upside. So any rally back in here, I would be watching for that potential weakness to show up. Remember that demand destruction is real, not just here in the United States, but particularly in Europe and in China. And I don't think we're going to escape this slowing of the worldwide economy. I hope I'm wrong, but right now I kind of have that lean when I look at these charts. A lot of those charts showing some potential bearishness in the oil sector, so watch carefully there. Let's take a look at precious metals here. Now, we looked at gold earlier today, and I got to say, there's some kind of fear here in the market, despite the fact what our indexes are showing us to have gold zooming like this. So watch that carefully here. I believe it needs a rest. It needs a consolidation or a substantial pullback. But watch carefully as it rests or pulls back and comes into some of these support and trend areas of the chart. It may set up that next opportunity. And of course, when you look at gold, then you got to be thinking about the miners as well. Newmont Mining, beautiful upside move here in the chart, running in a trend, pushing through this next level of resistance. Any kind of rest, consolidation, or pullback in here that holds trend and support, I would be looking for opportunities there. And you can see it in things like Barrick Gold. Big stretch here to the upside. Again, I would be watching for that possibility of a rest, a consolidation, or a pullback at some point in time. So watch carefully for that possibility. But in breaking through that resistance, any consolidating rest in here would be very, very bullish, I think, in those charts. So watch that carefully. Take a look at some stocks in the industrial area. Take a look at Boeing. Oof, that's a pretty ugly chart, continuing to show lots of problems here, breaking down below this support, running in this downtrend. That looks like a shorting pattern to me off of that move, and might continue to move on lower here in Boeing. However, if we take a look at John Deere, there's the opposite side. Old John Deere moving up to the upside, pushing through some resistance, holding in there bullishly, stretching up on Friday. I think any rest, consolidation, or pullback in here might set up that next opportunity in John Deere, so keep an eye on that. However, I'm not so excited about Caterpillar. Caterpillar might be making this higher low in here, as you can see, but also running in a potential downtrend. And as we push into this congestion area up here, I want to watch for that possibility that this could fade and pull back. I'm not going to say that it's going to break back down, but some kind of fade or pullback, or maybe just a consolidating area in here to build that platform to work from. So watch carefully here on Caterpillar as well. Other stocks out there that I'm kind of paying attention to, this NTNX. Like the way this has tightened up this consolidation in here on this chart, still moving in that upside trend. Got some support in there, watching that one closely. Keeping a close eye here on PayPal. Finally picked up off of this support in here. Any rest consolidation in here, I would be looking for that opportunity as we slide out here toward trend, for that opportunity for that to pop. As you guys know, I've been talking about this G-Gal, beautiful pop through here in that chart, continuing to move to the upside. Gotta like the way that looks. I like the way Ross Stores performed here on Friday, pushing through that consolidating resistance. Maybe some opportunity there for the upside in that as well. So watch those carefully. So with that, everyone, hey, I'm running this video a little bit long. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. I also want to let everyone know that I'm taking a little hiking trip. I will be gone Thursday and Friday of this week, so there will not be morning prep videos on Thursday and Friday this week. I will be out in the middle of nowhere, roughing it in a very, very small bivvy type tent, and just really getting away for a couple of days before the weather starts to change here dramatically. So hope you understand, and I wish you all the very, very best here today, and I will see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Take care, everyone.